Captain Danny Walsh stood on the bridge of the starship Discovery, staring at the massive structure floating in space before them. The ancient space station was bigger than any city on Earth, covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. After 300 years of searching, humanity had finally found it. "Are you sure this is the right place?" asked Dr. Carol Martinez, the ship's historian. She had spent her whole life studying the old records, trying to piece together what had happened to their ancestors. "The coordinates match perfectly," Danny replied, his voice quiet with wonder. "This is the Nexus Station. The place where everything began?" The year was 2387, and humanity had been wandering the galaxy for centuries. They had no homeworld, no ancient history, and no memory of where they came from. All they knew was that long ago, their people had been part of something called the Galactic Council. Then one day, all records of humanity simply disappeared. Lieutenant Kevin Stone, the ship's communications officer, looked up from his console. "Captain, I'm picking up automated signals from the station." "It's responding to our approach," Danny nodded slowly. 3 months ago, they had discovered an old data cache on a dead planet in the Omega sector. Inside were fragments of information about this place. The Nexus Station had been the heart of galactic civilization 500 years ago. More importantly, it contained something called the Chronicle Archive, a massive database that stored the complete history of every species in the galaxy. "Begin docking procedures," Danny ordered. "And keep all weapons ready just in case." The Discovery moved closer to the station, its hull creaking softly as the artificial gravity fields interacted. Through the viewports, they could see the station's surface was covered in what looked like metal trees, their branches reaching out into space like frozen lightning. Dr. Martinez checked her tablet, reviewing the information they had gathered. "According to the fragments we found, the Chronicle Archive contains the true history of every species that ever joined the Galactic Council. If someone really did erase us from history, the evidence should be in there." "But why would anyone want to erase humanity?" asked Lieutenant Stone. "We're not powerful enough to be a threat to anyone." Danny had wondered the same thing many times. Humanity's ships were decent but not exceptional. Their technology was good but not remarkable. Their colonies were successful but not dominant. By all accounts, they were an average species trying to make their way in a vast galaxy. "Maybe that's exactly why," Dr. Martinez said thoughtfully. "Maybe someone saw potential in us that we didn't see in ourselves." As they approached the docking bay, automated lights began to flicker on throughout the station. The massive structure seemed to be waking up after centuries of sleep. Danny felt a chill run down his spine as he realized they might be the first living beings to set foot on the station in hundreds of years. "Docking complete," announced Lieutenant Stone. "The station's atmosphere is breathable and gravity is at Earth normal." Danny turned to address his crew. "Remember, we don't know what we're going to find in there. Stay together, document everything, and be ready for anything." The airlock hissed open, and the away team stepped into the station's corridors. The walls were made of a smooth, pearl-like material that seemed to pulse with soft light. Strange symbols covered every surface, shifting and changing as they watched. "The writing is beautiful," whispered Dr. Martinez, running her fingers along the wall. "I've never seen anything like it." They followed the corridor deeper into the station, their footsteps echoing in the silence. Emergency lighting flickered on ahead of them, as if the station was guiding them toward their destination. After walking for nearly an hour, they reached a massive circular chamber. In the center stood a pillar of crystal that reached from floor to ceiling, glowing with an inner light. Around the pillar, holographic displays showed star maps, species profiles, and historical data. "This is it," Danny said, his voice filled with awe. "The Chronicle Archive?" Dr. Martinez approached the central pillar and placed her hand on its surface. Immediately, the crystal began to glow brighter, and the holographic displays changed. Text appeared in dozens of languages, including what looked like ancient human writing. "It's responding to my touch," she said excitedly. "The system is recognizing me as human." The displays shifted again, and suddenly they were looking at images of Earth, Not the Earth they knew from their history books, but a vibrant, living world covered in green forests and blue oceans. Cities stretched across the continents, and massive space elevators reached up into the sky. "That's impossible," Lieutenant Stone breathed. "Earth was never like that. Our ancestors were primitive when they first left the planet." But the images kept coming. They saw human fleets that dwarfed anything in the current galaxy. They saw human colonies on thousands of worlds. They saw human scientists working alongside dozens of alien species, creating technologies that seemed almost magical. "We weren't just members of the Galactic Council," Dr. Martinez said, her voice shaking. "We were the leaders." Humanity was the most advanced species in the galaxy. The crystal pulsed and new information appeared. They learned that 500 years ago, humanity had been at the center of a golden age of galactic civilization. Human technology had solved hunger, disease, and war for hundreds of species. Human diplomats had prevented countless conflicts. Human explorers had opened new sectors of the galaxy for colonization. Then something had gone wrong. The displays showed a series of meetings between human leaders and representatives of other species. The aliens seemed afraid, angry, and desperate. They spoke of humanity's growing power and influence. They worried that humans would eventually dominate the entire galaxy. They were scared of us, Danny realized. They thought we were going to take over. The crystal showed them the formation of what the archive called the Revision Alliance. 12 of the most powerful non-human species had secretly worked together to develop something called the Memory Plague. It was a weapon designed to attack not just humans, but all record of human existence. Dr. Martinez watched in horror as the displays showed the weapon's deployment. It wasn't just a virus that affected computer systems. It was something that actually changed reality itself, erasing evidence of humanity's achievements from the physical universe. "They didn't just delete our files," she whispered. "They made it so our greatest accomplishments never happened." The plague had been incredibly effective. Within months, all trace of human civilization had been erased from galactic records. The great human cities were forgotten. The technological breakthroughs were attributed to other species. The diplomatic achievements were written out of history, but the weapon had one flaw. It couldn't affect humans who were isolated from the galactic communication networks. Small groups of humans on remote colonies had survived with their memories intact, but they had no way to prove what had really happened. "That's why our ancestors seemed so primitive," Danny said, understanding finally dawning. "They weren't primitive at all. They were survivors of a civilization that had been erased from existence." The crystal pulsed again, and a new message appeared. This one was in perfect English, written by someone who had known what was coming. "If you are reading this, then humanity has found its way back to the truth. The Revision Alliance believed they could erase us from history, but they underestimated the human spirit. We are survivors, we are explorers, we are builders of impossible things. They may have taken our past, but they cannot take our future." The full records of our civilization are stored in the archive core, 3 levels below this chamber. Use them wisely. Use them to reclaim what was stolen from us. Remember who we really are. The message was signed by someone named Administrator Helen Brooks, dated exactly 500 years ago. Danny looked at his crew, seeing the same mixture of anger and determination in their faces that he felt in his heart. They had come looking for answers about their past, and they had found something much more important. They had found proof that humanity deserved to reclaim its place among the stars. Captain Danny Walsh led his team deeper into the Nexus station, following the directions from Administrator Helen Brooks' message. The corridors grew wider as they descended, and the strange symbols on the walls became more complex. Dr. Carroll Martinez ran her scanner over the markings, trying to understand their meaning. "These symbols aren't just decorative," she said, her voice echoing in the empty hallway. "They're actually a form of data storage. Every mark contains information about different species and their histories." Lieutenant Kevin Stone checked his weapons scanner nervously. Captain, I'm picking up movement 3 levels down. Something big is active down there. Danny nodded but kept walking. They had come too far to turn back now. The truth about humanity's past was waiting for them in the archive core, and he was determined to find it. They reached a massive elevator platform made of the same pearl-like material as the walls. As soon as they stepped onto it, the platform began to descend smoothly. Through the transparent walls, they could see enormous chambers filled with floating data crystals, each one glowing with stored information. "Look at the size of this place," Danny said in amazement. "There must be millions of years of history stored here." The elevator stopped at a level marked with symbols that seemed to shift and change as they watched. The doors opened to reveal a corridor lined with what looked like sleeping pods. Each pod contained a soft, blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "What are those?" Lieutenant Stone asked, raising his weapon slightly. Dr. Martinez approached one of the pods carefully. "I think they're memory storage units. Each one contains the complete experiences and knowledge of an individual being." As they walked past the pods, Danny noticed that some of them were labeled with symbols he almost recognized. They looked similar to ancient human writing, but more advanced somehow. "These are human," Dr. Martinez said suddenly, stopping in front of a pod with a clearer label. "This one says Chief Engineer Robert Kim, Terra Prime Construction Project. That's definitely a human name." Danny felt a chill run down his spine. "You mean there are actual human minds stored in these things?" "Not just minds," Dr. Martinez replied, studying her scanner readings. "Complete personality matrices. Everything that made these people who they were." They continued walking, passing hundreds of pods. Most were dark and inactive, but a few still glowed with life. Danny wondered how many great human leaders and scientists were sleeping in this forgotten place, waiting for someone to wake them up. The corridor ended at a massive circular door covered in intricate symbols. As they approached, the door began to open by itself, revealing a chamber beyond that took their breath away. The archive core was a vast spherical room with no visible floor or ceiling. Floating platforms connected by bridges of light stretched out in all directions. In the center of the room, a massive crystal structure pulsed with energy, sending streams of data to thousands of smaller crystals floating around it. "The main archive," Danny whispered as they stepped onto the nearest platform. The crystal structure responded to their presence. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing images and data from across the galaxy, but something was wrong. The displays were flickering and distorting, as if the system was fighting against some kind of interference. "The memory plague?" Dr. Martinez said, understanding what they were seeing. "It's still active. It's trying to erase the data even as we access it." Danny walked to the center of the platform, where a control interface had appeared. The symbols on the interface were clearly human in origin, but they seemed to be changing even as he watched them. "We need to work fast," he said. "Lieutenant Stone, can you boost the power to our recording equipment? We need to capture as much of this as possible before it's lost." Stone nodded and began working on his equipment. "I'm getting massive interference, Captain. Whatever this memory plague is, it's incredibly sophisticated." Dr. Martinez placed her hands on the control interface, and immediately the central crystal began to glow brighter. Data streams flowed faster, and the holographic displays became clearer. "I can access the records," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "Danny, you need to see this." The displays around them shifted, showing images of human civilization at its peak. They saw cities that floated in the clouds of gas giants. They saw massive space habitats that housed millions of people. They saw human ships that could travel between galaxies in days rather than years. "This is incredible," Danny said, watching. As the displays showed human scientists working with alien researchers, we really were the leaders of galactic civilization. But the images weren't just showing human achievements. They were also showing the reactions of other species to human success. The displays revealed meeting after meeting where alien leaders expressed growing concern about human expansion. "They weren't entirely wrong to be worried," Dr. Martinez said, her voice troubled. "Look at this." She directed the system to show them records of human military capabilities. The displays revealed that humanity had developed weapons and defenses that were centuries ahead of anything other species possessed. More concerning, they showed that some human factions had been pushing for more aggressive expansion into alien territories. The Dominion movement, Danny read from one of the displays. A political faction that believed humanity should rule the galaxy directly rather than through the Galactic Council. Lieutenant Stone looked up from his equipment. Captain, I'm recording everything, but the data is degrading fast. The memory plague is adapting to our presence. Danny nodded and turned back to the displays. Dr. Martinez, can you find information about the Revision Alliance? We need to know who was behind the memory plague. The displays shifted again, showing a series of secret meetings between representatives of 12 different species. Danny recognized some of them from current galactic politics. The Zephyrians were there, along with the Vorthans, the Crystalline Collective, and several others. The Taldari were the leaders, Dr. Martinez said, pointing to tall, elegant beings with silver skin and large eyes. They were the ones who developed the memory plague technology. The displays showed how the Taldari had approached the other species with their plan. They argued that humanity's rapid advancement threatened the balance of galactic civilization. They claimed that if humans continued to grow in power, they would eventually dominate or destroy all other species. But they didn't try to negotiate, Danny said, his anger growing. They didn't try to work with us to find a solution. They just decided to erase us from existence. The displays revealed the true horror of what had happened. The memory plague hadn't just deleted computer records. It had actually altered the physical universe itself, making it so that human achievements had never occurred. Technologies that humans had invented were retroactively credited to other species. Diplomatic solutions that human negotiators had created were attributed to alien mediators. They stole our legacy, Dr. Martinez said, her voice shaking with emotion. They took everything we had accomplished and gave it to themselves, but the displays also showed something else. In the final days before the memory plague was deployed, some humans had prepared for what was coming. They had hidden copies of their most important technologies in secret locations throughout the galaxy. They had established hidden colonies beyond the reach of the galactic communication networks. Most importantly, they had created fail-safe systems designed to preserve the truth about human civilization. The Nexus Station was one of those fail-safes, Danny realized. They knew someone would eventually find it. Lieutenant Stone suddenly looked up from his equipment, his face pale. Captain, I'm detecting ships approaching the station. Multiple vessels moving fast. Danny felt his heart sink. Are they human ships? Negative, sir. The signatures match Taldari vessels, and they're not responding to our communications. Doctor. Martinez looked at the displays, which were now showing real-time information about the approaching ships. They found us. The same species that erased us from history is coming to finish the job. Danny made a quick decision. Lieutenant, how much data have you recorded? About 60% of the core archive, sir. But if we leave now, we'll lose the rest. We'll have to take that risk, Danny said. Dr. Martinez, can you download the memory pod data? If we can wake up some of the stored personalities, they might be able to help us understand what we're fighting. Dr. Martinez nodded and began working frantically at the control interface. I can transfer 3 of the pods to our ship's systems, but it will take time to safely extract the personality matrices. Do it, Danny ordered. And make sure one of them is from a military leader. We're going to need all the help we can get. As the Taldari ships drew closer, Danny looked around the archive core one last time. They had found proof of humanity's true heritage, but now they would have to fight to keep it. The species that had erased them from history was coming back to make sure they stayed erased, but Danny wasn't about to let that happen. Humanity had survived 500 years of exile and obscurity. They had found their way back to the truth about their past. Now it was time to reclaim their future, no matter what the cost. Captain Danny Walsh ran through the corridors of the Nexus station, his team close behind him. The sound of their footsteps echoed off the walls as emergency lights flashed red around them. Dr. Carol Martinez carried 3 memory pods containing the stored personalities of ancient human leaders, while Lieutenant Kevin Stone monitored the approaching Caldari ships on his portable scanner. "How long until they reach us?" Danny asked, breathing hard as they reached the elevator platform. 10 minutes, maybe less," Stone replied. "They're moving faster than I've ever seen ships travel. Their technology has improved significantly since." The old records. The elevator shot upward toward the docking bay where the Discovery waited. Danny's mind raced as he tried to figure out their next move. They had found the truth about humanity's past, but now they had to survive long enough to share it with the rest of their species. "Captain," Dr. Martinez said, clutching the memory pods tightly, "these personalities might be able to help us." The archive data showed that one of them is Admiral Lisa Chun, who commanded the human fleet during the last Great War. Another is Dr. Frank Williams, who developed most of our advanced technologies. "Can we activate them on the ship?" Danny asked as the elevator reached their level. "Yes, but it will take time. The personality matrices are incredibly complex. We need to integrate them carefully with our ship's computer systems." They reached the Discovery and quickly boarded. Danny headed straight to the bridge while Dr. Martinez took the memory pods to the ship's medical bay. Lieutenant Stone began preparing their weapons and shields for the coming battle. "All hands, prepare for emergency departure," Danny announced over the ship's communication system. "We have hostile ships approaching." The Discovery undocked from the Nexus station and moved away into open space. Through the main view screen, Danny could see the Taldari ships approaching. There were 5 of them, sleek and silver with wing-like projections that seemed to ripple with energy. "They're beautiful," Lieutenant Stone said, almost in admiration, "but their weapon signatures are off the charts. Each one of those ships could probably destroy an entire human fleet." Danny felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had been away from galactic civilization for 500 years. Their technology had advanced, but apparently not as fast as everyone else's. The Taldari ships looked like they were from a completely different era. "Incoming transmission," Stone reported. "They're hailing us." "Put it on screen," Danny ordered. The view screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at a Taldari commander. The alien was tall and elegant, with silver skin that seemed to glow from within. Large, dark eyes studied them with what looked like a mixture of curiosity and contempt. "Human vessel," the Taldari said in perfect English. "You will surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. Your species is not authorized to be in this sector." Danny stood up straight, trying to look more confident than he felt. "I am Captain Danny Walsh of the Earthship Discovery. We are on a peaceful research mission." The Taldari commander tilted its head slightly. "Research mission? You have accessed restricted archives and stolen classified information. This is an act of war against the Galactic Council." "We found information about our own history," Danny replied, his anger rising. "Information that was stolen from us 500 years ago." "Your history is what we say it is," the Taldari commander said coldly. "Your species was given a place in the galaxy as junior members of the Council. You should be grateful for that privilege." "Junior members?" Danny couldn't believe what he was hearing. "We were the leaders of galactic civilization. We created most of the technology that all species use today." The Taldari commander's expression didn't change. "That is impossible. Your species lacks the intelligence and capability for such achievements. You will surrender now, or we will be forced to destroy you." The transmission ended, leaving Danny staring at a blank screen. The arrogance of the Taldari was incredible. They had erased humanity from history so completely that they seemed to actually believe their own lies. "Dr. Martinez, how are those personality matrices coming along?" Danny asked over the communication system. "Almost ready, Captain. Dr. Williams is about to come online." Suddenly, the ship shook as energy beams from the Taldari ship struck their shields. Lieutenant Stone worked frantically at his console, trying to return fire with their limited weapons. Our shields are holding, but barely, Stone reported. Their weapons are incredibly advanced. We can't take much more of this. Danny was about to order evasive maneuvers when a new voice spoke over the ship's communication system. It was calm and confident, with the accent of someone from ancient Earth. Captain Walsh, this is Dr. Frank Williams. I understand we have a problem with the Taldari. Danny felt a surge of hope. Dr. Williams, we need your help. They're about to destroy us. I've been reviewing your ship's systems through the computer network, the stored personality said. Your technology is more advanced than I expected. You've made excellent progress despite the limitations imposed on you. Another blast rocked the ship, and sparks flew from several control panels. Lieutenant Stone reported that their shields were down to 30%. Can you help us fight them? Danny asked desperately. Better than that, Dr. Williams replied. I can help you disappear. The lights on the bridge dimmed for a moment, then returned to normal. But something had changed. The Taldari ships on the view screen suddenly stopped firing and began moving in confused patterns. What did you do? Danny asked. I activated a cloaking system that was built into your ship's design, Dr. Williams explained. Your engineers included it based on old human technology, but they never knew how to make it work properly. Lieutenant Stone looked at his scanner in amazement. He's right, Captain. The Taldari ships can't see us anymore. They're searching, but we're completely invisible to their sensors. Danny felt a wave of relief wash over him. Dr. Williams. How is this possible? Our ships don't have cloaking technology? All modern ships have the basic components, the stored personality explained. The Taldari and other species have been using modified versions of human technology for centuries. They just never understood how the original systems worked. Another voice joined the conversation. This one was crisp and military, with the tone of someone used to giving orders. Captain Walsh, this is Admiral Lisa Shun. Dr. Williams has briefed me on the situation. We need to get this information back to Earth immediately. Admiral, it's an honor, Danny said. But how do we get past their blockade? There are probably more ships coming. We don't run, Admiral Chun replied firmly. We take the fight to them, but first we need to understand what we're dealing with. The ship's computer systems began displaying information that Danny had never seen before. Star charts showing the current positions of all major fleets. Technology specifications for weapons and defenses. Most importantly, detailed intelligence about the Taldari and their allies. The Revision Alliance is still active, Admiral Chun explained. They've been working for 500 years to make sure humanity never regains its true position in the galaxy. They've infiltrated the Galactic Council and convinced everyone that humans are a primitive species that needs to be controlled. Dr. Williams added, but they've made a crucial mistake. They've been using human technology all this time, which means they've been dependent on us without realizing it. Every ship in their fleet has human innovations built into its core systems. Danny began to understand what they were suggesting. You mean we can turn their own ships against them? Not exactly, Admiral Chun said. But we can disable their most advanced systems. The cloaking device is just the beginning. Your ship has the potential to access override codes that the Taldari don't even know exist. Lieutenant Stone looked up from his console with excitement. Captain, I'm detecting something incredible. The Nexus station is responding to our presence. It's powering up systems that have been dormant for centuries. On the view screen, they could see the ancient station beginning to glow with energy. Massive weapon systems were extending from its hull, and the strange metal trees on its surface were moving like living things. The station has automated defenses, Dr. Williams explained. They were designed to protect human knowledge from exactly this kind of attack. The Taldari are about to discover that we prepared for their return. Danny watched in amazement as the Nexus station's weapons came online. Energy beams lanced out toward the Taldari ships, forcing them to retreat. The ancient human technology was proving to be more than a match for their advanced vessels. This is our chance, Admiral Chun said. We can escape while they're distracted. But more importantly, we can start waking up the rest of our people. There are hundreds of human colonies scattered throughout the galaxy, all of them unaware of their true heritage. Danny nodded, feeling a new sense of purpose. They had found the truth about humanity's past, but now they had to help their species reclaim its future. The Taldari had erased them from history once, but they wouldn't be able to do it again. Set course for the nearest human colony, Danny ordered. It's time to tell our people who they really are. The Discovery dropped out of faster than light. Traveled near the human colony of New Haven. Captain Danny Walsh looked at the planet through the main view screen and felt his heart sink. The colony was under attack. Taldari ships circled the planet, like hungry predators, firing energy beams at the settlements below. Smoke rose from several cities, and the colony's small defense fleet was scattered and burning in space. They got here first, Lieutenant Kevin Stone said grimly. The Taldari must have predicted we would come here. Dr. Carol Martinez worked frantically at her console, trying to establish contact with the colony. I'm getting emergency broadcasts from the surface. The colonists are asking for help, but they don't understand who's attacking them or why. The voice of Admiral Lisa Chun came over the ship's communication system. Her stored personality had been studying the tactical situation since they arrived. Captain Walsh, this is exactly what happened 500 years ago. The Taldari are trying to destroy human colonies before they can learn the truth about their heritage. How many people live down there? Danny asked, watching another explosion bloom on the planet's surface. 2 million, Dr. Martinez replied. Mostly farmers and miners. They have no idea they're descendants of the greatest civilization in galactic history. Danny felt anger burning in his chest. The Taldari weren't just attacking a colony. They were trying to murder 2 million innocent people whose only crime was being human. Dr. Williams, Danny called to the other stored personality. Can you help us fight those ships? The voice of Dr. Frank Williams responded immediately. I've been analyzing their vessel designs, Captain. They're using modified versions of human technology, just as we suspected. I can disrupt their systems, but I'll need to get closer. Lieutenant Stone looked up from his weapons console. Captain, we're outnumbered 8-1. Even with Dr. Williams' help, we can't fight all those ships. We don't have to fight them all, Admiral Chun said. We just need to buy enough time to evacuate the colony and show them the truth about their past. Danny made his decision. All hands, battle stations, were going in. The Discovery moved toward the planet, its cloaking system keeping it hidden from Taldari sensors. As they got closer, Dr. Williams began transmitting override codes to the enemy ships. One by one, the Taldari vessels began experiencing system failures. It's working, Lieutenant Stone reported with excitement. 3 of their ships have lost main power. 2 more are having navigation problems. But the remaining Taldari ships quickly adapted. They began changing their communication frequencies and upgrading their security systems to block Dr. Williams' override codes. They're learning fast, Dr. Williams said. I can't maintain this advantage much longer. Danny opened a communication channel to the colony below. New Haven Control, this is Captain Danny Walsh of the Earthship Discovery. We're here to help. A desperate voice responded from the planet. Discovery, this is Governor Paul Rodriguez. Thank God you're here. We don't know why these aliens are attacking us. Our defenses can't hold much longer. Governor, I need you to listen carefully, Danny said. What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but your lives depend on it. Begin evacuating your people to the northern continent, and prepare to receive a data transmission that will change everything you think you know about humanity. Dr. Martinez began uploading the information they had gathered from the Nexus station. The truth about human civilization, the memory plague, and the Revision Alliance flowed through the communication channels to computers across the colony. Governor Rodriguez's voice came back, filled with confusion and wonder. Captain, this data you're sending us. It says that humans once ruled the galaxy. That's impossible. We're barely capable of interplanetary travel. It's all true, Governor, Danny replied. Your ancestors were the most advanced species in the galaxy before they were erased from history. The same aliens attacking you now are the ones responsible. On the planet's surface, people began to react to the revelations. Some colonists refused to believe what they were reading. Others became angry as they realized the magnitude of what had been stolen from them. But many felt a sense of recognition, as if they were remembering something they had always known deep down. The battle in space continued as more Taldari ships arrived. The Discovery's shields were taking heavy damage, and Lieutenant Stone reported that their weapons were nearly depleted. "Admiral Chun," Danny called, "we need options." "There's something else, Captain," the stored personality replied. "The data from the Nexus station shows that there are hidden human facilities throughout this system. Emergency bunkers and weapon caches that were placed here centuries ago. Dr. Martinez ran her sensors over the system and found what Admiral Chun was talking about. I'm detecting artificial structures on 3 moons and an asteroid field. They're heavily shielded, but they're definitely human in origin." "Those are Phoenix stations," Dr. Williams explained. "We built them as insurance policies. Each one contains advanced technology and the means to rebuild human civilization if necessary." Danny felt hope returning. "Can we activate them?" "I can." "Try," Dr. Williams said. "But I'll need direct access to their systems. We'll have to get close enough to dock with one of them." The nearest Phoenix station was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid. The Discovery raced toward it while Taldari ships pursued them, firing continuously. Their shields failed just as they reached the docking bay. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, Lieutenant Stone reported. But we're inside the station." The moment they docked, the ancient facility came to life. Lights flickered on throughout the asteroid, and massive energy signatures began building up throughout the system. Dr. Williams' voice was filled with satisfaction. "Phoenix Station 7 is online, activating defensive systems now." Suddenly, the space around New Haven filled with human ships. Not new ships, but ancient vessels that had been hidden for 500 years. They emerged from asteroids, gas clouds, and the planet's moons, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor and weapons. The Taldari fleet found themselves surrounded by technology they had thought was lost forever. The human ships didn't attack immediately. Instead, they simply appeared and waited, their weapons charged and ready. A new voice came over the communication channels. It was calm, ancient, and unmistakably human. "Taldari vessels, this is the Phoenix fleet. You are trespassing in human space and attacking human civilians. Withdraw immediately." The lead Taldari ship responded with typical arrogance. "Human ships, you are in violation of Galactic Council regulations. Your species is not authorized to possess military vessels of this class." "The Galactic Council has no authority here," the Phoenix Fleet commander replied. "This system has been under human protection for 500 years. You have 10 seconds to begin your withdrawal." Danny watched in amazement as the ancient human fleet moved into attack formation. The ships were sleek and deadly, with weapon systems that made anything in the current galaxy look primitive. The Taldari commander seemed to realize they were facing something beyond their ability to handle. "This is impossible. We destroyed human military capability centuries ago." "You destroyed what you could find," the Phoenix Fleet commander said. "But we prepared for your return. Withdraw now or face the consequences." 2 of the Taldari ships began to retreat, but their commander was too proud to give up. He ordered his remaining vessels to attack the human fleet. It was over in minutes. The Phoenix ships moved with incredible speed and precision, their weapons cutting through Taldari shields like they didn't exist. 3 enemy vessels were destroyed outright, while the rest were disabled and captured. On the planet below, the colonists watched the battle through their telescopes and communication screens. They saw their mysterious attackers defeated by ships bearing the ancient symbols of Earth. Governor Rodriguez's voice came over the communication system, filled with awe and emotion. "Captain Walsh, those ships, they're really ours." "They're really ours, Governor," Danny replied. "And this is just the beginning. There are Phoenix stations throughout human space, all of them waiting to be activated. Dr. Martinez looked at her console, which was showing new data from across the galaxy. Captain, I'm detecting activation signals from dozens of systems. The other Phoenix stations are coming online. Admiral Chen's voice was filled with satisfaction. The network is awakening, Captain. 500 years ago, we prepared for this day. Now it's time for humanity to reclaim its place in the galaxy. Danny stood on the bridge of the Discovery, looking out at the Phoenix fleet that surrounded them. Somewhere out there, the Taldari and their allies were realizing that their greatest fear was coming true. Humanity was returning to claim its legacy, but Danny knew this was only the beginning. The truth about human civilization was spreading through the galaxy, and soon every human colony would know what had been stolen from them. The Revision Alliance had kept humanity scattered and weak for 5 centuries. That time was ending. 6 months after the battle at New Haven, Captain Danny Walsh stood in the Great Council Chamber of Terra Prime, the restored capital of human space. The massive room was filled with representatives from every human colony in the galaxy, and the air buzzed with excitement and determination through the huge windows. Danny could see the new human fleet assembled in orbit. Ships that had been hidden for 500 years now flew alongside newly built vessels that combined ancient technology with modern improvements. The sight still filled him with wonder every time he looked at it. The vote is unanimous, announced President Sarah Kim, who had been elected as the first leader of the reformed Human Republic. We officially reject the authority of the current Galactic Council and declare our intention to reclaim our rightful place as leaders of galactic civilization. The chamber erupted in cheers. Danny felt a surge of pride as he watched his fellow humans celebrate their newfound strength and unity. But he also felt a weight of responsibility. The easy part was over. Now came the real challenge. Dr. Carol Martinez, who now served as Director of Historical Recovery, approached him with a datapad. Danny, we've received responses from 47 different species. Most of them want to meet with us. Some are offering to switch sides and abandon the Revision Alliance. And the others? Danny asked, though he already knew the answer. The Taldari, Vorthans, and 8 other species have declared us a threat to galactic stability. They're forming something called the Preservation Coalition. They claim we're trying to start a war. Danny shook his head in disgust. We're trying to stop a war that's been going on for 500 years. They're the ones who attacked our colonies first. Lieutenant Kevin Stone, now promoted to commander, joined their conversation. Sir, Admiral Chun wants to see you in the command center. We've received some troubling intelligence from our scout ships. Danny followed Stone through the corridors of Terra Prime to the military command center. The facility had been built inside a massive asteroid, just like the old Phoenix stations. The walls were covered with displays showing the positions of human and alien fleets throughout the galaxy. Admiral Lisa Chun's holographic form appeared as they entered. The stored personality had been given a robotic body so she could move around and interact with the physical world, but she preferred to appear as a hologram during important meetings. Captain Walsh, Admiral Chun said, we have a problem. The Preservation Coalition is gathering the largest fleet in galactic history. They're planning to attack all human colonies simultaneously. Danny studied the tactical displays. Red symbols showed enemy ships massing in 12 different systems. The numbers were staggering. How many ships are we talking about? Over 10,000 vessels, Admiral Chun replied grimly. They've convinced dozens of species to contribute ships and crews. They're calling it the final solution to the human problem. Commander Stone looked shocked. 10,000 ships? Even with all our hidden fleets and Phoenix stations, we can't match those numbers. We don't need to match them, said a new voice. Dr. Frank Williams entered the room in his own robotic body. We just need to be smarter than them. Danny turned to the ancient scientist. What do you mean, Dr. Williams? I've been studying the intelligence reports from our network of allies, Dr. Williams explained. The Coalition fleet has a fatal weakness. They're using communication systems based on technology we developed centuries ago. Technology that still has hidden access codes built into it. Admiral Chun's eyes lit up with understanding. You're talking about the Master Protocol? The emergency override system that was built into all human technology. Exactly, Dr. Williams said. When we created the Galactic Communication Network 500 years ago, we included fail-safe systems that would allow us to take control in case of emergency. The Taldari and their allies have been using our technology for so long that they've forgotten it was ever ours. Danny felt excitement building in his chest. You mean we can take control of their entire fleet? Not exactly, Dr. Williams replied. But we can disrupt their communications, navigation, and weapon systems. We can turn their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. President Kim entered the command center, her face grave with concern. Admiral Chun, I've just received a message from the Coalition. They're demanding that we surrender within 24 hours or they'll begin destroying human colonies. Danny clenched his fists in anger. They're trying to intimidate us into giving up. It won't work, Admiral, Chun said firmly. We've spent 500 years being afraid and scattered. We're not going back to that. Dr. Martinez looked up from her datapad. I have some good news. 17 more species have declared their support for us. They're sending ships to help defend human space. Which species? Danny asked. The Andromedans, the Crystal Collective, the Free Worlds Alliance, and several others. They've been oppressed by the Taldari for centuries. They see our return as their chance for freedom, too. Admiral Chun nodded with satisfaction. The Coalition made a crucial mistake. They thought this was just about humans, but it's really about freedom versus tyranny. Every species that's been held down by the Revision Alliance sees us as their champions. Commander Stone reported from his console. Admiral, our scout ships are detecting movement in the Coalition fleet. They're beginning to advance toward human space. How long until they reach our borders? Danny asked. 18 hours, Stone replied. Admiral Chun turned to Dr. Williams. Is the Master Protocol ready? Almost, the scientist replied. But I'll need access to the central communication hub on Terra Prime. The signal has to be sent from the original source to be effective. You'll have it, Admiral Chun promised. Then she turned to address everyone in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, in 18 hours we're going to face the largest military force in galactic history. But we have something they don't have. We have the truth, we have justice, and we have the determination to never be erased again. Danny felt a chill of anticipation run down his spine. This was the moment that would determine the future of humanity and dozens of other species. Either they would win and restore freedom to the galaxy, or they would be destroyed and forgotten forever. The next 18 hours passed in a blur of preparation. Human fleets moved into defensive positions around key colonies. Allied ships arrived to reinforce the human forces. On Terra Prime, Dr. Williams worked frantically to prepare the Master Protocol transmission. When the Coalition fleet finally arrived at the edge of human space, the sight was terrifying. 10,000 ships stretched across the star system like a metal plague. Their combined firepower could destroy entire planets, the Coalition commander, a Taldari admiral named Zektalar, broadcast a message to all human colonies. Humans of the galaxy, you have been deceived by criminals and terrorists. The beings calling themselves your ancient leaders are artificial intelligences created to manipulate you. Surrender now and return to your proper place as junior members of the galactic community. Danny stood on the bridge of the Discovery, which was now the flagship of the human fleet. Around him, his crew worked calmly and efficiently, preparing for the battle that would decide everything. Dr. Williams, Danny called over the communication system. Are you ready? Ready, Captain, the scientist replied from Terra Prime, activating Master Protocol in 3, 2, 1. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Across the Coalition fleet, ships began to lose power and drift helplessly. Communication systems failed, weapons went offline, navigation computers shut down. The massive armada that had seemed so unstoppable suddenly became a collection of floating metal objects. It's working, Commander Stone reported with amazement. The entire Coalition fleet is dead in space. But Danny knew the victory wasn't complete yet. Open a channel to all ships in the system, he ordered. When the communication link was established, Danny's voice carried to every vessel, human and alien alike. People of the galaxy, you have just witnessed the truth about your technology and your history. For 500 years, you have been using tools and systems created by human civilization. For 500 years, you have been told lies about who we are and what we accomplished. He paused, looking out at the disabled coalition fleet. We don't want to rule over you. We want to work with you to build a better galaxy for all species. The Revision Alliance has kept us divided and weak for too long. It's time to create a new galactic community based on truth, freedom, and cooperation. Across the coalition fleet, ships began to respond. Some vessels restored their power and turned toward home, their crews unwilling to continue fighting for leaders who had lied to them. Others requested permission to speak with human negotiators. The war was over before it had really begun. The truth about humanity's past had become the foundation for the galaxy's future. Danny smiled as he watched former enemies becoming potential allies. Humanity had returned to claim its legacy, but more importantly, they had returned to share it with everyone.